All right, everybody, welcome to the Strand Tennis Center podcast. I'm Steve Capo, I'm your host. We've got some action today. We're going to have a few, I think this show is going to be mostly the tip show. So I'm going to go through all the tips. We've been done so many tips over the years that I actually want to read through a lot of them because it's nice to condense them down into an audio sense instead of some people all don't distill all their information through video. So I'm going to go through tons of tips, George. I'm sure you'll be quite interested in all the tennis, but I'm going through this, realizing how many tips we've done over the years. I'm sure we've repeated a lot of them because you have to. That's what tennis is repetition. So just like teaching on the court where you repeat the same thing, you repeat the same tip a lot because people forget. And to be quite honest with you, social media is so packed with information, you could probably, I don't know, George, you probably could repeat the same tip 10 times a day and probably 5 people will see it. So inundated with information. So I'm just going to repeat these via audio and I'm going to cut them off, I think, when we get to the point where we don't like to keep these podcasts too long. I guess it's basically by attention span as well. I'd say the podcast be 15, 20 minutes and hopefully these tips help. I'm going to go through the beginning of when I started this. So this one tip I really like a lot, we don't use a lot. Practice one bounce doubles to become a winning team. So one bounce doubles means we do this when we play in practice. So I serve, the return obviously hits the ground, but the next ball cannot bounce. So we make a rule that we all have to come forward. Problem is in doubles, too much is staggered these days. We don't come in anymore. And I guarantee you in college, if we start coming in again, or even in high school, we'll be more effective. People don't like coming in. So it's a simple drill. You play the whole match, or you play the whole 11-point game. When you serve, after the return is struck, that's the only bounce that's allowed. Anything else that bounces, you lose the point. I'm going to read some of the tip. The idea of one bounce up is to force you to come forward off the serve, where the only bounce is the return. Again, if you do this drill early in your development, you will learn to be comfortable with coming in. The problem is we're just not comfortable coming forward. We did a drill today with 6 players. They tell them it's an approach shot drill. 90% of them won't come in off the approach. Approach shot is coming forward. Get used to moving in and shortening points. It's going to be really the big difference in how you play these days because everybody's back. No one wants to come in, and now finally Alcaraz and some players are coming in and it makes a big difference. So use that tip. Here's another one. Hit the high ball on the rise, backing up with contact above the shoulders is dangerous. So you see too many times the high ball comes, someone doesn't like it, and they back up. This usually happens more in junior tennis. They're not comfortable with it. They back up and they hit a ball above their shoulder. So if they back up 5 or 6 feet and they hit a ball above their shoulder, they're going to be in trouble. That ball's going to be elevated, and usually the opponent will come forward and have an easy volley to put away. So as much as you can, if a high ball comes to you, hit the ball on the way up or on the rise because you don't want to give up the court. Happens a ton in junior tennis, like I said. So ball that's high, get used to working on hitting on the rise. And the best way to do this is if you have a pro, tell them, hey, can you just bounce balls to me and throw them downward and they come up and I got to hit them. A lot of times we toss balls to a player and we toss them upward and they bounce instead of throwing them downward and they bounce up. So you get used to them hitting it on the rise. Hitting the ball on the rise is a lot harder than hitting it on the way down. Hitting a ball that bounces and comes on the way down, the ball slows down, gravity takes it over. A ball on the way up, it's still got a lot of force. Gravity hasn't affected it yet. So that's what you have to do when you get a high ball, though. So just get used to someone throwing you balls downward on the bounce and you hit it on the way up. Another one. If you give time to the opponent, you will lose. It's the same thing. When you play tennis, it's all about time. I'm trying to take away time from the opponent. They're trying to take away time from me. So if I back up, I give them time. I give myself time, but I give them time to react to the ball. So as much as you can, you want to do something called towing the baseline. So if I play and I'm in a neutral situation, I want my feet or my toes right along that white line. I don't want to back off too much. A lot of players start like Medvedev and Nadal. They start way back on the return, but if you notice, they don't stay back there. They get right back up on that baseline. Because if you stay too far behind the baseline, the player's just going to dictate and control, the opponent will, from the other side of the court. So again, If you give the time to the opponent, you will lose. If you back up, they'll have too much time. So again, toe that baseline is the best way to do it. Next one. The point is never over. It's a simple tip. A lot of players hit some good shots. They expect the ball not to come back, and they're out of position. You can never expect points to be over. Conversely, if you play that way, the opponent will be very, very frustrated when you go for every single ball. It'll force them to go for more and more shots, more balls, harder shots. It will cause errors. If that player knows, that opponent knows that you're going to go for every ball, it puts a lot of pressure on them. But if you dog it, don't go every ball, they're going to feel more and more confident and not go for as many shots because they know you're not going to try for those shots, so they're not going to have to try for hard shots, and they're going to make less errors. So knowing the point is not over is twofold. If you hit a great shot, you got to stay in it. If they hit a great shot, you've got to stay in it. Okay? Let's see what this one was. You can also hit off the shoe tops for a winner. You can. You can get a low ball and hit off your shoe tops, but you got to stay low. That's the big key. You come forward and balls will get low off your feet. You've got to stay low through the shot. Imagine you're in a low tunnel when you hit a ball off the shoe tops. That means it's just off the rise. You're usually close to the net. You're kind of half volleying the ball. You've got to stay low to hit a ball that way. So stay super low. Pretend you're in a low tunnel. Keep the racket up at the net for quicker reflexes. Simple tip. This is a great junior tip. Too many times we play doubles, we're at the net and our hands are just below or too low. They're not up. We just drop the hands. You got to keep your hands up at all times in a center ready position because you react quicker. It's a simple tip. People don't do it enough. They drop their hands way too many times. It's like a boxer that drops his hands all the time. You get lazy. Handle the low ball with a slice. So a lot of times we get low balls and we don't know how to deal with them. We end up just digging them up and they're floating. So when you get a low ball, you generally want to slice it back low. That means the ball will come back low. So a slice means an underspin ball. And again, when you hit a slice, don't think you are slicing it. So if I have a racket here, George, perfect. So if I'm hitting a slice, if they can't see it, George, let me know. But if I'm hitting a slice, my face is slightly open. But I call it an underspin because I'm going forward on it. I don't slice downward. It's not a slice, it's an underspin. So you're gonna get that low ball, you're gonna drop your racket, it helps you get under the ball better. A ball that bounces really low, I can't hit it like this. I gotta get under it and slice. But when I slice a low ball, I need to go forward. So think underspin, not slice on the low ball, it's a big key. Let me see, keep me going with my tips here. Okay, let's see. So that's the high ball, opponent. Oh boy, we got so many tips. Keep the racket up. We're on the slice part. Let's see the next one. Doubles is a through game, hit through the opponent, not around. Interesting tip, which you talk about a lot. Doubles, there's 4 people on the court. There's a lot less room for angles. Too many times we don't like to go through because we don't want to hit the opponent, and that's what you got to do. It used to be, if you hit the opponent 10 times, you buy them drinks afterwards, whatever, but that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to hit through the ball, through the opponent. So if you got a shot, you go down the middle or you go right through the opponent. You don't try to go around them. There's not enough room. So doubles is a through game. It's not an around game. It's very important to know. Overhead tip. This is a simple tip. Too many times on the overhead, we just back up instead of turning. So you have to think like you're a quarterback. When a quarterback drops to take a pass, they turn their shoulders and they sidestep back. That's what you have to do on overhead. Turn your shoulders, hands up, sidestep back. Don't backpedal. You'll fall over and you won't be able to rotate because it's all about rotation. So if my body's sideways, I can turn into the ball. If I'm backing up, I cannot turn into the ball. So think like a quarterback on the overhead. Turn sideways and sidestep backwards. Again, serve and volley even in singles. You need to do that, especially when you're winning. Serve and volley means that you serve and you come in after the serve. I want everyone to do that at least once, or let's say once every 2 games. You've got to get the opponent in a situation where they're uncomfortable. They don't know what's going to happen. Changing up. Alcaraz comes in a lot. Get used to serving and volley, especially when the opponent starts back like they're doing. Get used to coming forward. What you give is what you get, which is kind of, on a higher level, it doesn't work as much, but it works all the way up even to the college level, I believe. What you give is what you get usually means if you hit a drop shot and someone's hustling for it, they're only going to probably give you one back or give a short ball back. Conversely, if you give a high lob in doubles, the high lob's going to come back. People give what they get most of the time. And the way to become a real excellent player is to give the opposite. If somebody gives you a drop shot, try to hit it deep. It's harder to do. So, what you give is what you get. Redirect the low volley, don't add force. So, in all volleys, you're just thinking of redirecting them. And that's the big key. I hit a volley, all I'm doing is taking what I get and giving it back. And that's the big key. You want to redirect what you get. If you hit a low volley, the volley path, hey guys, they're all relaxing, George. They're not even ready to hustle. They better be playing. This is what happens when you in a podcast while they're playing. They have nothing to do. Get playing. Anyways, so volley path it's basically a horizontal triangle. And again, you did this before, George. Maybe you can put it up on a little visual. Horizontal triangle. Here's the bottom of the triangle. There's the tip. Low volley, high volley, center volley. You want to follow the path of the vertical triangle, or the horizontal triangle, sorry. So if I have a low volley, I'm going to finish up to the tip of the triangle. If I have a high volley, I'm going to finish down. If I have a center volley, I'm going to finish forward. So again, follow that path of that horizontal triangle. And again, you're redirecting what you're getting. You're not adding to it. Put me all the way back to the top, George. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Serve and volley. I got a lot of notes here, George. Redirect the low volley. Here we go. The 3/4 court cross-court ball put the opponent in a bad position. So this one gets argued with a lot. But if you're playing a neutral rally and you hit the ball 3/4 court up the sideline, not deep, not super deep, but say it hits the singles line, but it's 3/4 courts up, that brings the opponent forward, but not in a good situation. Because they're not in far enough to come in. But yet, they're too close and they get caught. So what happens is you bring them up 3 or 4 steps. They get caught hitting this shot. They have to go for it. If they don't get it, then you have a whole open court. So try, and it's hard when you play during a neutral rally, to find that 3/4 court position. So you're hitting that ball 3/4 court up. It forces them a little bit up, but not all the way up, and they're in a kind of an uncomfortable in-between position. So try to use that. If the opponent turns their back, move forward. We've gotten the most kind of views on these things. It's a great little tip. If you're playing a neutral rally and you move the opponent a little east and west and they turn their back, that means they turn their back to you. And especially if they open their racket face like they're hitting an underspin, you're going to come forward. Even if it's not a great shot. Soon as they turn their back, you attack. You can say it that way. Open the face, turn their back, you attack. Let's see what else we got. When you get pulled off the court, let's see, I already did that. Boy, lots of tips here, George. When you get pulled out and in, go up the line with the approach. Sometimes I don't even remember what I said, George. When you get pulled out and in, go up the line with the approach. So, this is conversely the way to deal with the 3/4 court shot. If you get pulled out and in, you've got to go up the line with the approach, and you got to go hard up the line. It's a difficult situation, right? So this is the only way to combat that. You're pulled up, you're pulled in a little bit. You can't just hit a neutral ball down the middle, even a cross-court ball, because the hole down the line is open on the other side. You've got to go hard down the line. So if you get caught in that situation, you just got to go hard down the line. Aggressive cross-court neutral balls will set up a winner. So a lot of times we take too many chances. The center of the court is 6 inches lower than the outside of the court down the line. So just hit a ball hard cross court and hit the extra one cross court. Don't change direction too soon. Keep that ball cross court as long as you can. It will give you the short ball that you need, and then you can change direction. In general rule, you only want to change direction when that ball is shorter inside the service line. That means, or go up the line because it's higher part of the court. So hit the extra cross court ball. Be patient. Let's see. Keep the strings on the ball longer for a solid drop shot. So a lot of times we hit a drop shot, which is a ball that just barely clears the net. And instead of taking this shallow, long smile with it, we flick at it. Again, you have to keep the strings on the ball. You hit a drop shot, you're going to catch onto it, and you're going to shape it and hand it over to the opponent. So again, catch, and carry it over to the opponent, keep the strings on it longer. Slow, when you come forward, also think it says slice approach low here for maximum effectiveness. A low slice is very, very, very effective. A lot of people try to drive and hit the ball as hard as they can when they come in. If you hit a low slice to opponent, they're going to be forced to slice it back, which is not going to be hit too hard, or they're going to be forced to lob it, which will probably get an overhead. So use that low underspin return to come forward. So the baseline, like we discussed. For power and recovery, rotate the torso. So this is when you get pulled out wide. You have to open up your stance, which means that you're going to, if you're a righty, use your right foot as the last step on the forehand. If you're a lefty, use your left foot. It's going to help you get back into the court. It's also going to help you rotate your torso. It's going to create a kinetic chain. If you open up your stance and you twist your upper body, then you can recoil back and create power. But you want to open up your stance so you stay behind the ball. When I strike a ball, if I don't stay behind it, I'm going to be in trouble. So that means if I cross my feet over to hit a stroke, that means I'm turning my back. I'm trying to stay wide and open so I don't have to cross my feet over and staying behind the ball. The more you stay behind the ball, the better position you're in. Let's see. Hit hard cross court over the low part of the net to set up the winner, like we said. Very important. High ball above the shoulder, and you'll get a short ball. Okay. So conversely, like you're saying, people have trouble hitting the high ball. If you can get the ball high above the shoulders, you'll probably get a short ball. So that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make the opponent hit that ball above their shoulders, out of their window. So the best window is between mid-chest and mid-thigh. That's a great sweet spot. If you get it above there or really below there, it's in a bad situation. Really, the hardest thing is the high ball. So your job is to hit high and heavy over the shoulders, and you'll likely get a short ball. Practice location over power, which is very important for the serve, too. We talk about Federer being the greatest player. He probably had the greatest serve. Compare it with Sampras, maybe. But he didn't have the hardest serve, right? Players serve it a lot harder, but he had the best location for the serve, and that was the most important thing. Location over power. He could put it in a certain spot, or it could simply give him the next shot. Was very easy. It was very first strike. So he hit a great serve. He get a short ball. How many games did Federer play at Wimbledon where the game was like literally 1 minute and 10 seconds long? Because he'd have a great first serve, great location, and then have an easy second ball. So practice location. The way to do that is to put 3 cones, 1 out wide, 1 in the center, 1 down the tee. Don't even serve it hard. Make sure you're serving 10 to each location. 10 flat, 10 spin, 10 slice, 10 topspin. You want to be able to control the ball first. So practice location over power all the time. Oh, let's see. Maybe a couple more, George. Let's see. Lob over the backhand side for any hope of defense. So if somebody comes in and you're in trouble and you're going to throw up a lob, your best bet is to hit it over the backhand side because they can't hit it too hard. They're going to have to kind of flick it and do the best they can to find the right angle. So lob over the backhand side. Simple tip, but people don't do it. Find that backhand side. We'll do one more, George, I guess. Yeah, I guess. We don't want to bore people too much, George. I'm sure you're falling asleep myself, my friend. Use the open stance on the run. We already went through that. Defend the high ball. Lift the back leg to get level with it. Okay, so this is another way to defend the high ball. If you can't get it on the rise, you got missed time, you're going to lift your back leg. They do it on the back end all the time. Lift your back leg up. So you're going to push off of the back leg. I know it's hard to tell, George, but if I can stand up a little bit, George, lift. I'm going to do that, George. I'm going to be lifting the back leg up to get me on the right plane of the ball. And that's the big key. I've got to get up on that level because it's already got too high. So try to lift your back leg. How many was that, George? I don't know. Was that 15, 20? I think maybe a little bit more. I don't know.
I mean, we're at 20 minutes.
Okay. We are. Okay. So I think that's good. I think we should do 20 minutes. We have so many more tips. We'll do this probably once a month for the podcast. We'll give you about 20 minutes of tips. Hopefully it helps again. The last thing I'll leave you with, which was really interesting today, and I wrote it down, and I put it all the way down here on the bottom, so we have it. Hold on one second, George. Okay. So, if it looks wrong and feels right, it's wrong. If it looks right and feels wrong, it's correct. So keep doing what's wrong, what feels wrong. On the tennis court is a microcosm of life. I'll see people with a terrible stroke and they love the way it feels. And then I fix their stroke and they hate the way it feels. That's only a short period of time. Just like life, you could do something that feels terribly wrong, an extra 10 hours of work, an extra bunch of crap you have to do. If it feels wrong, it's probably right. Okay? So think of that. I'll say it again one more time. If it looks wrong and feels right, it's wrong. If it looks right and feels wrong, it's correct. All right, everybody? Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.